Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the 41st Millennium, or as we just concluded, Back to the Future. So, it's been a while since we last played, for various reasons, but we are here now, we're back, and we are ready to see what the Acolytes are up to. Before we get that far, though, and before we get to a recap, Chris, you had something you wanted to say.
Yes, I do. Thank you. It's not a terribly big thing, although it is fairly big to me. And to
us, really.
And to you. I wasn't going to say that. I didn't want to assume that anything I did was going to be of any interest to everyone else. But
fair.
Some listeners may be aware of a very well made, very well done comedy Warhammer web series by the name of "If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device" by a online name brother Alpha Booster. I don't know his real name, but he's a wonderful Swedish fellow. Anyway, he's started doing a series of videos in that series in the style of a podcast, talking about various things, and he opened up a PO box for people to submit questions to the God Emperor of Mankind, or the Man Emperor of Mankind in this case, in the style of characters of their choice. And so I decided to send a letter to the Emperor from the point of view of my player character, basically explaining that he was out of a job due to something that happened regarding the Inquisition in the series, and he asked the Emperor's advice. The Emperor pointed out that Accolon was an idiot, that the Inquisition was all fine, he could continue his work as long as he didn't use his unrestrained power to murder babies.
As long as they were, you couldn't murder innocent babies.
Yes. Unless they were traitorous babies, and then there was a long debate with. There was a guest character who found the idea of traitorous babies appalling, but that's beside the point. The point is, I submitted it. It was read out. I was very pleased with this, and and then I do believe that to my left, my fellow acolyte and player Joan did something similar, didn't you?
Yeah, but it hasn't been read out yet, so let's see if that even happens.
Yes, but either way, as we're certainly hoping it does.
Yes, we absolutely do, because that would be all kinds of fun.
Yes.
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay, so recap. What happened last time? It's been a long while, and my memory is quite fuzzy.
I mean, I'm good at doing recaps, so
yeah, take it away, Chris.
He's our recap guy.
Yes, now I'm going to have to do it for Hereticus for the rest of now on, aren't I?
You just volunteered.
Yes, clearly. That is just my title. That is my official role-playing title now, the Recap.
It's Mr. Recap, yes.
Mr. Recap. Someone just dropped out.
Whoops.
I don't think so. Oh.
Okay, yes, what happened last time was that in the aftermath of a series of events whereby we had gone after to investigate the final elements we could of the level of corruption available, or shown and demonstrated by various people across Hive Tarsus Tilla. We had we all had a wealth of evidence and circumstances to prove that the corruption of the cult that we were going up against, the baby faces and the cultists of
See, those are the kinds of babies that we would be allowed to kill.
Yes.
Baby faces aren't babies, they're just people with faces of
well, they did have the faces of babies, as in, actual faces of actual babies.
Yes, that doesn't make them babies.
Well, we are killing parts of babies in that case.
Let's not have this theological debate while I'm recapping, please. Afterwards. Point was that we submitted the evidence to Acolyte Trina Holster, who was standing in for the Inquisitor, who was still recovering from having a heretical dark artifact lodged in her skull due to unknown circumstances. Trina decided that she didn't much like the fact that we decided to execute the individual who confessed to being behind the whole scheme on the spot. Well, Francesca did that, and decided to confine Francesca and Accolon to quarters for having taken part in that action. Medea got off scot-free because she just wasn't in the area when it happened. And Tim had been with her on a mission anyway. Francesca has been changing quite a bit as of late. Let's just say that her belief, her original youthful and, as she believes, naive belief in the inherent worthiness and goodness of mankind has been thrown out of a window.
I think the words "sorely tested"
Yes,
are appropriate here.
And so betrayed.
No, she's just growing up.
And so betrayed does she feel that that these cultists should have so successfully infiltrated society due to, as she sees it, the incompetence of the various organizations put in place to try and prevent this from happening, that she has decided that every human being in the entire galaxy is unworthy and everyone just has to die, because she can clearly handle her emotional betrayal as well, and has decided to immediately convert to monodominantism and just become a raving lunatic from now on. That's not quite how it goes, but that's at least how it felt to a point. But no, basically, Francesca is going through a sore period. It's through a trial period in her life as a sister of battle, and is looking at a future where she might be able to become an inquisitor and take charge of things more. Medea has also had some big changes happen. She has been struggling several sessions with a boatload of corruption that she's picked up due to some out of character, some bad rolls in terms of corruption points from a mission we went on.
I'm fine.
Has been struggling despite her protestations to the contrary, with voices in her head and
No, I'm fine.
engaging in light cannibalism of people she happens to kill. But
before this thing.
And despite the hard work and dutiful flagellations of the drill abbot at the Tricorn with in regards to Medea, she hasn't been able to take anything away from all of it. So Accolon decided to try the personal touch and, a soft hand, soft voice guiding her prayers, talking about how she's doing, how she's feeling. And this, strangely enough, actually had an effect, much to the horror and outrage of any Inquisitor out there who can't possibly understand how, in the name of the Emperor, compassion ever got anything done. But it did mean that some of the corruption, not much, but some of the corruption that she had accumulated was shed. And during the period of her talking to Accolon and sort of muddling through her feelings and thoughts at that time, the voices did stay silent, which was a good sign. It's such a good sign that Medea is actually open to asking Accolon to come and pray with her, which is a big step.
Very much so.
But that was only after Accolon had been released from his confinement, along with Francesca, after 3 days of being stuck in a cell. The Inquisitor herself had summoned them, and she had spoken to Medea earlier, actually. The Inquisitor is in an interesting state, considering that she's talking through a choir of 20 or so psychers, because she's still incapable of using her own voice at this point. But basically what came to our attention was that because of the investigation we'd conducted, it was clear that the corruption within Hyptarsus and that sector of Hyptarsus was so absolute that a complete purge of the populace and of every living soul in that area had to be undertaken, and missions by higher-ranking inquisitorial agents had to be conducted against various high houses, noble houses, further up in the Hive's spire. All in all, I think we said about 5 million people in Sector 10 were to be purged by the stormtroopers of the Inquisition. Mm-hmm. And after Tim went off to do some more target practice because he's very bad at handling free time, and after Medea and Accolon had done some praying, Accolon went and found Francesca, and there was a lengthy talk in which Francesca once again stole the floor with her eloquence in regards to how she saw the state of things, and Accolon responded as best he could. And then I think we were going to go off and briefly see the Inquisitor about some other update. About basically, it was a few hours later, and she told us that the purge had begun. Although I wasn't sure if we were going to continue there, or if we were going to decide to just sort of skip ahead a bit, where we were in a position to start our next mission, because we basically hadn't been told what we were going to do next. Other than that, it wasn't to keep investigating, because quite frankly, by this point, it was no longer necessary.
Oh, and it's being dealt with by other acolytes.
Yes.
And stormtroopers and various other inquisitorial agents.
Yes.
So for now, you're off the hook. really. And I think we'll start this session with you guys basically having free reign. You're able to do whatever you want. You're able to go wherever you wish, with the obvious exception, of course, of the sections of the Tricons where you don't have access because
of course.
pay grade
Yeah.
and all that. So it's basically a matter of you guys telling me if there's anything you would like for your characters to do while you're inactive. The Inquisitor, and this basically takes as short a time or as long a time as you guys need it to take. If you have anything you'd like to roleplay or just describe or whatever, that's absolutely cool.
It's very good of you.
Mm.
I mean, considering where we left off last time, it might be easier to move it on at least a day from where we left off, because I remember last we left off, Francesca and Akalon were going off to pray, and that's...
Yeah. I think we could move it on considerably further than that.
Yeah,
In
we
fact, I think. I
absolutely
mean,
can.
the point is that we've. I mean, I don't think necessarily that there's anything. I mean, probably a lot of talking has happened and a lot of conversations and so on. Sure, but
Yeah.
but at least in Francesca's case, she's been doing more of the same. She's been studying. She's been absolutely burying herself in the what are they called? The cogitators, and in the you know, what else? The books of the library. She's been just absolutely going at it full force, because this is apparently or clearly in her optics, this is a turning point. Personally, for her.
Yes, I would say that Akalon will probably do as he did the first time this happened, and pop by and talk, and then eventually he'll probably start doing the same thing, and reading through some of the books and some of the information she's been reading, and then starting to find his own stuff gradually over the course of, say, a week. And let's just say that he will probably come to some somewhat different conclusions about where he would sit in the Inquisition compared to her. But he keeps quiet about it at this point, obviously. But he is taking stuff in as well.
Okay, and to be fair, the library is absolutely immense. So after a week's study, you've maybe gone through the tip of the iceberg, really.
0.5.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's lifetimes of reading in this place, but she will. You know, I think one of the things that she will do is get the basics of what the different sects are all about, and then start reading more on the not the radicals, on the what are they called?
Puritans.
The Puritans and the various Puritan sects to figure out more about how the different ones stand, and that's it. It's.
I mean, there's
It's not rocket science.
No.
I mean, there's only three major Puritan branches to go off of.
Yeah, but there might be some minor ones as well that are mentioned there. But yeah, she just sticks with the.
Let's just say this. If sorry, you first.
I was just thinking, for the sake of me and AJ and possibly some viewers, could you guys tell us about the different branches?
Of
Not
course.
necessarily give us.
No. But I mean, there are there are three major Puritan sects, and I can't remember. Is it four?
There's four core radicals,
Yes,
but there are
four
so
core
many other offshoots.
That's part of the thing about the radicals, is that they are, you can have a sect of one inquisitor who believes that he's found the Philosopher's Stone, basically.
Yes.
But just for the very, very basic part of it is, the Puritans versus the radicals. The radicals are willing to do whatever it takes, including breaking every single imperial law. They will consort with demons. They will make deals with Xenos. They will even, the most famous of the lot, the one we spoke of before we got started on the recording, Gregor Eisenhorn, literally has as his primary inquisitorial, I suppose acolyte is a word, but at least his closest henchman is literally a demon host. So a possessed person with an alpha level psyker being inhabited by a demonic entity. Yeah, that sort of thing would have a planet bombed into exterminatus for the mere existence of one of these things. He's an inquisitor and he's working with it. So that is what you will, in the most extreme of cases, that's what you will find with the radicals. But the radicals are sorry, please.
I was just about to say that basically it boils down to the ends justifying the means.
Yes.
Whereas the way I would have worded it is that, to paraphrase, and I can't believe I'm using this as an example, to paraphrase 1D4chan's description, is that the radicals like to fight fire with fire because they have long since realised that their enemies have all the shiniest toys.
Yes.
Yes.
And there is truth to that. The problem, of course, is that this also means that there is an alarming number of radical inquisitors who go bad. As in really, 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 really massively bad.
Exactly.
And the problem when they do that is that it usually takes a little while before you discover that your fellow inquisitor has gone really massively bad. And in the meantime, he has access to all the knowledge, all the information, and all the power of the Inquisition. So the amount of damage a radical inquisitor can do before he is actually hunted down and killed off when he does go bad is astonishing, and that's why they are so little tolerated, because very few people will question or argue the fact that they do get results. They do, but the price they pay for those results, most of the Puritans, what they think is that they are taking the cheap and easy route, whereas there's a more deliberate, slow, by the book methods will also yield results, though it may take a little longer.
It's a case of, I would compare the Puritan factions to, they're the much more conservative pair, and the radicals are the much more.
And
is it liberal? I'm not sure if
no, you cannot. You can't divide it into anything politically comparable to today at all. I don't think so. Anyway, you can only say that one party, in my opinion, the Puritans are by the book. They're hardliners. They use the rules and systems as laid down in the Imperium, and they follow those rules because they know that they are there for a reason. Whereas the Puritans believe that those rules constrict them and make it impossible to reach a full, to gain full success in a fight against heresy or demons or whatever, and therefore they are willing to flout the rules and break them, because quite literally, as an inquisitor, you are above the law to begin with. But so that's how I would put it. And then just to move on, because as you said, let's not do this something that will last for hours. But there are a number of these so-called sects, because individually within the Puritan ranks and within the radical ranks, of course, there are also interpretations of, okay, how do we break the rules, or how should we follow the rules?
May I give these in brief?
Sure.
I don't want to interrupt, but just the one that Joan has been mentioning a lot for Francesca is monodominance, which is basically the belief in the absolute purity of the human form and spirit, and that anything other, this goes from aliens, chaos entities, and even any kind of mutations within humanity itself, such as psychers, and to some really extreme one of dominance, even space marines are to be purged to allow the purity of humanity to remain intact.
Yes.
Amalathianism is basically, this is where I really sort of, they are the most conservative philosophy of the group. They believe that the Emperor has a plan and that it will unfold in time, and that we should let that happen, and that we should allow things to change at the pace the Emperor sets for it. We shouldn't try and change things ourselves. Try and maintain the status quo, basically. And then you've got the Thorians, the Thorianism, which is basically they believe that the Emperor will eventually is able to because the Emperor was able to take form in the inspiration he gave to the great Saint Sebastian Thor. It should be possible to help the Emperor create a new body for himself, to be reborn, and then he will reform the Great Crusade that he started many years ago and allow humanity to reconquer the galaxy as it should have done in the first place. Not surprisingly, because this involved massive change, the Thorians are seen as the most sort of radical of the Puritan factions.
Yeah. There are a couple of sub-factions to these called, most importantly, the Anomolian Beholders and the Ardentites, but they are, or Identitites, sorry, they're not the major ones. The three ones that are mentioned are already they're the big ones. And as we mentioned before, and that's probably quite important, is that so far, Francesca is slowly moving towards the monodominance, although not fully, because they do have, for example, the idea that even Space Marines are something that should be purged is something which is complete anathema to her, and so, for example, those are examples. So she's not all the way there, and at the same time, Achelon seems to be moving towards the Amalathian viewpoint.
Yes, Amalathian, and to try a bit quicker, go over some of the radical ones, the most popular radical factions.
There are so many of those. So, yeah.
But the main four are Xanthism, which are the group that advocate the use of warp and demon-based weaponry, mostly. Horusians, named after the arch-traitor Horus, which basically strive to study how Horus gained power through the Chaos Gods in order to try and create a body for the Emperor of Mankind to inhabit again. So it has some similarities, but not really any important ones to Thorianism. You've got Recongregationism, long word, which basically believes that the Imperium is a corrupt and decadent place, that it must be rebuilt almost from the ground up into something better if humanity is ever to survive. This is perhaps in some ways the most comparable viewpoint I think you could have to a modern day perspective on the Imperium of Man.
It's also the most extreme of the lot, because they are quite literally willing to burn the Imperium to the ground and then rebuild it from the ashes.
Yes. And then you've got Istvanism, which is basically the idea that humanity thrives through conflict, therefore humanity should be forced to engage in conflict at every given opportunity. So,
Eternal war.
Yes, which is pretty much what we already have, so they should be the happiest of all the inquisitorial factions.
Yeah, but except they're not happy because there are parts of the Imperium that are not constantly embroiled in war. Show them a paradise world, and they will froth at the mouth. Anyway,
those are the main ones. Well, that's
yeah.
So yes, we'll end our history lesson there, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
It is all good. It is all good. So, I think because this is going to be a thing for both Sister Francesca and Achelon, I think it is worth at least some basic description. Okay.
Since we kind of took up the whole of the last session and the whole start of this first session here with Achelon and Francesca's stuff, perhaps we might see if Medea and Tim are still up to their training and whether or not they're still trying to trip each other up. And maybe some role-playing from them.
So, that's the question, really. We know what Sister Francesca and Achelon are going to spend the next week on. Basically, with their noses deep in books and cogitators and scrolls and
occasionally debating this, that, and the other about what they've read.
Yes, exactly. What about Medea and Tim?
Well,
What are you guys doing for an entire week?
I had 3 points
Mhm.
I wanted to touch on.
Yep.
The first would be, what is Trina's attitude towards Tim in the following week?
In the following week, Tim sees Trina all but once.
He's busy.
And it's basically short to the point. Some formal thing she needs him to do. It's nothing too important, but information about the mission that basically she feels there's a hole somewhere in your in the report, and she needs some clarifications, and that's really it. And it is very formal. It is. She doesn't really show any emotion.
I guess it's not Tim she invited there then, because he wasn't part of that report specifically.
Well, he's been part of the investigation as a whole, though.
Oh, up until he went
yes,
with her, that's true.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So then that's the question. Did you contact him specifically, or just the first one she could find?
I think she contacted him specifically.
Ah, well, he took note of that then.
Fair.
Outside of that, he will have done some toughness training to add to his regiment of training, because, you know, the whole sitting still and not doing stuff is weird. And lastly, he will have asked Medea if she wants to go people watching.
People watching?
Wait, what?
So, what is people watching?
It's twofold. On the base level, you go somewhere where you can observe people passing by, preferably you're two, and then you make up stories about them, like, see that guy? I bet he's a this and that and that. But the second layer to it is that you have to train yourself to notice the small details. So, like, see that guy? I see he's wearing a wedding ring, and so and so and so. So you use these small details. You train your ability to observe small details, and you have fun inventing stories about people.
Okay. Is that something Medea would be up for?
I think the first thing when he asks her, "You want to go people watching?" and she would be like, "What?" And then he'll give that explanation, and she'll go, "Okay, sure, why not?"
The question I have then is, where do you go to do your people watching?
Were we allowed to leave the Tricorn?
Yes, you can absolutely leave the Tricorn. You're free to go wherever you wish, except for the off-limits areas of the Tricorn. But yes.
Of course. Then he would suggest not, too far out from the Tricorn, but somewhere where you can watch people where you won't go. Well, I guess that guy might be a member of the Inquisition if he's in here.
Sure.
Lol.
Cool.
I think she will have done the pointing at you and said, "I think that guy is a part of the Inquisition. He looks grumpy enough to be it."
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Okay, so you spend some time people watching, and I imagine it's in the... So the Tricorn, I imagine at least, is located somewhere in the upper spires, which basically means you're not people watching down in the manufactorums with all the millions and millions and millions of workers. You're people watching finer people than that. Minor nobility, merchants, so on and so forth.
I guess we're also observing servants then for the minor nobility.
Yes, because whenever a noble goes outside his or her mansion, they're absolutely followed by a retinue of serfs. No question about it. So yeah, absolutely, you would be people watching serves as well.
Well, I mean, you can use that as, and I guess then a lot of the game goes to observing the small details that the nobles are no doubt adept at observing to see, okay, that guy is probably richer than that guy, and, mapping out the social hierarchy.
Some small part of me, I think, expected the people watching for Tim would be a matter of him going out and watching people through his scope.
Nah, that's work. This is a hobby. That also trains his perception.
Yes, I think it makes all kinds of sense, and
It does.
At the same time, it's also it does the same for Medea, really.
And I can already now reveal that Tim only has hobbies that are also good for something, except one, which is rock collection.
Rock collection.
What?
Yes, he likes collecting rocks.
That
Does he have a pet rock then?
pet rock.
No, I don't think he has that many, but he prefers to have one rock from every planet he's visited, which
Oh.
so far is not that many.
No.
I think he's only visited this place and that moon thing, and I
Yes.
don't remember if he got a rock with him from that one.
We can absolutely say he did. That's not a problem at all.
In that case, he did.
So while we were running for our fucking lives, he just gathered a rock. Wait, what? I need this! Picks up a rock and runs off.
He could have picked
What?
it up while we were, getting on board the.
Yes.
Getting off and going there, we were less
Yeah.
busy then.
Makes sense we wouldn't have noticed. Like, he's an assassin thingy. He'd probably do the assassin thing. I don't know what he needs a rock for, but I don't dare ask.
I mean, I remember him kneeling down and aiming at some people. He could have just swiped a rock there.
Yeah, he could absolutely.
Because he needs to be... Yeah. I can't let anyone know I'm picking up a rock. Because it's a secret rock.
He's not very secretive about it.
Nah.
Not something he goes,
True.
shouting down the streets.
Cool. So the question then is, you guys. Oh, and this is also a slight correction to your recap, Chris. Is that the action so far has taken place on Hive Sibelius and not Hive Tarsus.
No, I will not be corrected.
Okay, fair. We'll just retcon the entire thing to.
It's fine. Yes, it's Hive Sibelius. I do get those mixed up, unfortunately, but yes, that's fine.
It's all good. It's not something that bothered me. Just for the details.
It didn't bother you, then why did you bring it up?
Because I was about to mention Hive Sibelius. So
Fair enough.
point being that you haven't actually left Hive Sibelius in the time you've been here. So where would you get a rock in a hive that's made up of steel, rockcrete, and all kinds of man-made material?
Well, we were down in the poor or middle hive when we were doing stuff, and
Yes.
I'm guessing some walls will have exploded at some point.
Right. But that okay, yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely take some debris from.
Well, I
some
mean,
wall that
it
exploded.
fits with my experience here.
Sure.
Mhm.
So
So
it
he-
doesn't have to be natural rocks.
No,
a piece of
it's
rock
mostly
reed
a
works
memory
just as well.
thing.
Cool.
It's a memento, or whatever you call it.
Okay.
Souvenir.
Cool. Yeah, souvenir memento. Yes. Okay. Cool. So that's Tim, rock collecting, people watching, and doing his training over the course of this week. What about Medea? So I as I understand that she does go people watching with Tim. Is there anything else Medea wants to do during that week? No, it's not that it's a week. It's just that's basically the time that goes by from when we stopped last session and until your next mission starts.
Well, other than the people watching, she trains,
Mm-hmm.
and she probably goes to the Underhive a couple of times to say hi.
Oh, the Underhive, you say. Interesting that you should mention that, because
No longer exists.
It explodes.
no, it absolutely doesn't explode. That would be bad for the entire hive.
It collapses.
No.
That would be very bad for the hive.
Parts
as well.
of it does.
Well, so parts of the underhive collapses on a regular basis. So yeah.
Yep. It was a solid guess.
Yes, that is absolutely a thing. So I take it you then go to meet your to meet up with your
Rock rats.
Your rock rats.
Bring them some food and stuff.
Right. So what kind of food do you bring them?
It's a
Stuff
people.
from the tricorn, or some person
Yep.
you caught, or
No, she doesn't bring them a person. She's realized that feeding them that would be frowned upon. So it would be better not to feed them that herself. So she brings stuff from this icon.
Okay. So it's probably the best meal or best quality meal at least that they've ever had.
Yeah, she figured that as well.
Yeah.
Better cooked as well.
So yeah, absolutely. So the first time she goes down into the underhive, she meets everyone: Kelsa, Aegor, Kiandra, Abel, Tristan, and Kisa. No problems. They're all happy to see her, and she spends some time in their company. I imagine that's what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but it's a relaxing moment for her. It's something that brings her some peace of mind. I imagine. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
It does.
Being with her rugrats. The second time, however, that she's down there, Kelsa is not there. The oldest.
Oh.
And the others are absolutely panicking.
Why?
Because as they described it, the day before, there was a raid on the area of the underhive in which they live. This wasn't a regular rave. Where did that come from? Raid, though.
All the raves. They're so wild down there.
Yeah.
That's why
Sometimes you're gone for days.
that's why they can't afford food. They spend it all on glow sticks.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, raid. This raid was conducted by men in black robes, and it was silent, it was efficient, and it was quick. And when these men in black robes left the underhive, or that section of the underhive in which the rock rats live, Kelsa was nowhere to be found.
Huh. Alright.
So that has the others somewhat worried. And the thing is...
Well, I guess this is where she is the no shit mama. Because this is where she'll go, well, you know people disappear down here. And sometimes they never return.
So...
It's a thing she has taught them pretty well, that, yes, I might go out to find food and I might never return because it's the underhive.
Yeah.
And yes,
And-
it's sad, but there's not much to do about it.
While, of course, it's something you've taught them, and it's something that they know.
I'm
because-
pretty sure that they've also had, siblings that died because they got sick.
Absolutely. That's absolutely a thing. But even so,
All siblings in quotations marks, but you know what I mean.
yep, I know, absolutely. even so, even though they know this on a rational level, and you've taught them well, and they do mention that as the first thing, one of the first things when you talk about this is basically, and we know you always say, and then they rattle off your lessons to them, but it's clear to Medea that they are going out of their minds worrying about Kelsa. Also, because in the time that Medea has been away with the Inquisition, Kelsa has been the primary provider for them, taking care of them. So that has them rather worried, because they also have this feeling that Medea is going to go away again.
Yeah, she has to return.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're a bit concerned about this. When I say a bit, I mean a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing they have a big brother too, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And he tries. He steps up as well. He becomes. He tries also to take on that role as provider for them now that Kelsa is apparently gone, because they've sort of accepted that she won't return, and that's basically where Medea's teachings have taken hold in these kids, is that they even though they are concerned, they're worried, they're sad, they do try to move on and do what they can to survive. And Agar is absolutely a part of that.
Yeah. Well, she looks proud. I will try to see what I can do in finding her. But she might not be alive anymore.
And
The people, if she understood it correctly, it was the "we are gonna purge this place for you," wasn't it?
well, the men in black robes at least. So that could mean anything really, but you do know that the Inquisition's favorite color is black. They
Yeah.
do like their black.
Well, I'm pretty sure if she starts asking around, then she'll quickly find out what happened. So she'll do that. First, find out what happened.
Well, so what she learns then is that people are saying pretty much the same thing that the Rugrats were, which is Men in Black. It was quick, it was silent, and when they were done, a lot of people in that section were gone. Not just Kelsa, a lot of people. And that's really all they know. These guys, whoever they were very efficient in what they did.
Alright. Well, do they at least know what way they went?
No, they don't. They went up, and that's really all they know.
She lifts both brows. Alright, people in the Underhive rarely leaves the Underhive.
Yep.
For a
What
moment
happens
she
in the
forgot.
Underhive stays in the Underhive.
Oh my god, it's Las Vegas!
Yay!
Yes.
No, not anymore, because the new shirts in Las Vegas say what happens in Las Vegas stays on Facebook and YouTube.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. Well, considering what happened in Vegas yesterday, good grief.
Yeah.
Oh, the horror.
Yes, and that quite poignantly dates this episode. But
Yeah.
yes, we do acknowledge that what happened
Yeah.
Yes.
definitely.
And
was absolutely tragic.
we are horrified by it.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess I am heavily unaware then.
We'll talk about
Yeah,
it
we'll
after.
talk about it
Yes.
afterwards.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't actually need to know right now.
No. So, but that is what Medea learns, and basically, efficient, fast, and they all went up.
Yeah. Well. Alright. Great.
But she also she does learn about these black robed men that they absolutely didn't look like underhivers. Their robes were of fine quality. The weapons they wielded were of similar craftsmanship, and generally men of resources is the
Yeah.
general idea she gets.
Men in black robes.
Yes,
Guessing they couldn't see their faces.
they could. Not a single robed figure was showed his face.
If I'm not recalling completely weird or false information, the people Tim saw in that weird bar thing, weren't they also wearing robes?
No, they were wearing. Well, some of them might have been, but they weren't wearing black robes. They wore
Alright.
various colors. Whatever is in vogue these days in their circles.
Yeah. Alright. Well then. Best guess would be asking at the Tricon then.
And other than that, is she gets the usual information in various areas have collapsed, thousands died, etc., etc. This happens on an absolutely regular basis in the Underhive. People die all the time. As buildings collapse and gang wars erupt and so on and so forth. But eventually I take it then that Medea does return to the Tricon.
Yep. If it were black robe figures, there is a good chance it was the Inquisition.
Yes, that is certainly a guess, a good guess, I think.
So she'll return there.
Okay. And when she does return, does she seek out anyone in particular, or?
Well, I personally don't know who the hell she would ask about that.
Well, so her fellow acolytes, Trina maybe, even the Inquisitor might know something.
Probably an idea to start with your fellow acolytes. We are supposed to be, first point of contact, and you've made some connection with Accolon after all.
Yes.
Sure, but how would he know?
He's better at asking around than you are.
True. Well, she at least goes back
Okay.
and tries to look for her team. I guess Francesca and Accolon are the easiest to find because they have their faces buried in books.
Guess you know where they are.
Well, I have to, go from the huge piles of different books they're behind, but I'm pretty sure they're in that general area.
Yes.
Well, you find them.
Pokes her head over the mountains of books they've made a little fort out of.
Yes, they're sort of. Oh god, now I just imagine them sitting in the little fort, staring daggers at each other from across the room.
I just imagine them getting ready for some kind of food fight or something with little things around them.
Why would they be staring daggers at each other, all things considered?
I don't know. No reason. No reason at all.
You can't visit my fort. Well, you can't visit my fort. My fort is bigger than your fort. No, mine is made for the right kind of books.
Has Francesca never had the joy of building a book fort? And I suppose not. Okay.
Also pretty sure Trina would kill us if we started making forts with all the books.
Yes, I think.
Yes.
I think we'd probably do the deed ourselves if someone actually did that. Anyway. Oh, hello, Medea.
Hello. Have you two heard anything about a raid in the Underhive?
Nothing whatsoever.
I'm afraid not. Why?
Has somebody raided the Underhive?
Apparently a group of black hooded people.
That doesn't sound like the Red Redemption. I mean, obviously they usually dress in red, and they.
Yeah, they're also the only ones who would go down there.
Well, not necessarily the only ones, but at least you wouldn't be in doubt who they were once they had been there. They tend to announce
No, it will
themselves.
also smell very burnt after they've been there.
Yes, generally speaking.
I take it then that these black hooded figures weren't particularly noisy and obvious.
No.
Hmm.
My first
Well.
thought were our cherub-faced friends, but they all had, different kinds of robes on instead of just one kind. The only thing in common for them were the faces, right?
Hmm. You don't. This Akalon looks at Francesca. You don't think it's us, do you? Us,
Well, that was my
I was about
kind
to
of
say,
thought.
us? I mean, oh, you mean the Inquisition in general?
Yes, of course.
It could be. That is possible.
I mean,
Obviously, if it is, it's not really something that we. It's not something that any of us would really be necessarily be privy to information about. Seeing as, I mean, not only is Inquisitor Dex not the only Inquisitor in the Tricorn, and we don't know what any of the others are working on. We don't even know what she's got other groups of her own acolytes out working on either. So it could be. But here's my question in this, and it might be. I don't know if it's going to sound. Well, I don't know how it's going to sound, to be perfectly honest with you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Why would it be a raid? I mean, what have they done down there that's have they done anything problematic, I suppose is the way to put it.
What do you mean?
Well, the Underhive is already a highly unsafe place. There are gangs down there.
I'm aware.
There are. Well, yeah, you know probably better than any of us how dangerous that place is. So what
The difference really is normally when people come down there,
Yes.
they kill a lot of people and leave again. This time they took them.
Right.
hmm.
Okay, that definitely changes things. They could be
Yes.
slavers. They could be slavers. It is not unheard of. There are planets in the Imperium where slavery is used. They could, for all we know, they could be press gangs from the Imperial Navy, because there are always
Yes.
ships in the Navy who need bilge rats and whatnot. So it could, but it's still. I mean, it's worth looking into, certainly.
Question out of character. When dearest Akalon was taken to be put on the black ships to head to Terra, what kind of people came to take him?
Pretty people.
I'm asking the GM, thank you.
I actually imagine that the description would be somewhat similar.
Yes, Akalon, basically his face is takes on a kind of understanding, says, it's also perfectly possible, considering my own experience, that these people were taken to be put on the black ships to Terra.
But if that's the case, Akalon, that would indicate that they're psychic, that they're psychers of some kind, or latent psychers, if nothing else.
Akalon shrugged.
Nah, she had no powers like that.
That you know of.
No, I know for a fact that she didn't. She's only a year younger than me.
I was a child when I discovered my abilities.
Yeah.
Well, possibly. I mean, it's just a suggestion, but it seems the circumstances by which you mentioned of the individuals and their operations seemed a little too similar for coincidence to me.
Well, here's what I suggest we do. We haven't had a...
Do they even know why she's asking? They haven't even asked why.
No.
No.
Okay, ignore the whole
No, I'm not even going to ask, because she turns up and says, if this is something we know something about,
Yeah.
then that's enough reason really to answer.
Yes.
And well, Francesca will just get up and say, well, we have been sitting here for quite a while. With everything that has been happening in this hive, I suppose there is absolutely no harm done in getting our gear together and looking into this, provided, of course, that Trina and the Inquisitor don't have anything else for us to do at the present.
Yes.
Is this... You said something about someone who was only a year younger than you.
Yeah, my oldest daughter.
Your daughter is only a year younger. I'm not I'm not thinking about this too hard. Adopted, I'm going to assume.
Yeah.
Good, thank the Emperor.
I don't think a 1-year-old girl can get pregnant.
And Akelon's brain shuts down.
I'm just not going... No. Let's just... Okay. Meet up outside in 30 minutes? All right.
All right. So I think that's a good time for us to take our first break.
It is.
So we will be right back.